The general term Cold War is known as a war between two superpowers, in this case being the Soviet Union and the United States of America. This war does not involve any military action but does include big economical and political changes. The use of what is known as a satellite state will aid in multiple situations to both superpowers. The use of propaganda will also be very important. This war between the USSR and the US consequently provoked many changes in ideologies and movements such as feminism, the weapons race, the race to the moon, the nuclear arms race, and so on. To understand about feminism during the Cold War, we first must understand what feminism means. According to Johnson, and I quote, "Feminism is a complex set of ideas and theories that at its core seek to have equal social, economic, and political rights for men and women." So the basic idea of feminism is to have equal opportunities and rights for men and women. The word feminism is said to be first used by Mary Wollstonecraft, a woman that wrote the book A Vindication of the Rights of Woman. There is another work published by Friedan in 1963 which talks about the general discomfort and inequalities that women are starting to suffer in that age, and that they are serving for everyone else but their own self. They're served for their children, their husbands, their houses, and everything and everyone else but their own selves. The chapter The Problem That Has No Name in Friedan's book talks about this problem and how the press, the scientists, and the government react, which they react pretty absurdly, and later on they realize that there is a real problem going on here and that it has to be solved, and that women cannot find their true self. "I want more than my husband, my house, and my children," says one of the many testimonies quoted in Friedan's book. A good contrast with the way feminism was treated in the two superpowers was in the propaganda. The Soviet Union promised an equal society between both genders, convincing more countries of converting into communism. The US got a catch of this and tried to convince women that free markets were much better and that they should stay in their female role. But American women started to gain more confidence and eventually started to demand more rights in all areas of society. Moreover, women started to make all kinds of demonstrations thanks to Friedan's book and President JFK, who got the Voting Rights Act running for African Americans and more rights for African American women in general. One of the most influential women before the Cold War was Eleanor Roosevelt, who was the first lady to start to talk about politics, women's rights, and even to become the first delegate from the US in the United Nations, and even talking with the Women's Trade League Union. Another very influential woman during the Cold War was Gloria Steinem, a woman who led women's liberation rights in the 60s and 70s, changing the face of feminism around the US. Another woman who changed the entire female workforce forever was Barbara Walter, who was the first female co-host to be in a news show and changed the way we see journalism today for women. To sum up, women's rights have changed a lot over time, and if it weren't for the last century, they wouldn't probably have the basic rights that they have today. Women allowed themselves to have big demonstrations and did lots of efforts to fight for their opportunities. Thanks.